Hello again, and welcome back to another edition of Discover Israel. And as you might be following us, you might know that we are going from Jaffa to Jerusalem, stopping at all the great ancient cities and roads along the way. If you might have remembered, last time we stopped in a city called Gezer, Carrot. We're still here in the city of Gezer, and here we're going to talk a little bit about something that some people call a phenomenon. This is the megaliths. What are they? Follow me and find out. So what are megaliths? Well, we have this phenomenon around the world. You might know Stonehenge. It's one that is very familiar and super famous for a lot of people. Basically, huge stones put in some type of formation, and people don't exactly know exactly what they were for or used for, except for cultic practices, sacrifices, or to mark something special. Here in Gezer, we have this phenomenon. As you can see behind me, there are these huge stones that have been set in place. Nobody knows how they got there or exactly what the reasons were for them being here. One of the things that we do know is that the Canaanites used this specific area and this area right behind me for making covenants, for making promises. That means that if you wanted to make a promise with your neighbor and say, yes, I'm going to give you my daughter and he's going to marry your son and this and whatever, you would come here and make that covenant. And then the son and daughter, if they wanted to have their wedding ceremony, they would come back to this same place and they would make that covenant together. It was for a covenant relationship. You would come to this place and make a covenant. Now, the interesting part about this specific area, this megalith area, is that in the center of it is this altar. That means that in this place there had to be sacrifice. That means that any of these covenants that were being made were made over a sacrifice. Blood was spilled. This meant that this was blood covenants. Now, Gezer is known a lot for a lot of agriculture that went on in the way. You might have heard of the Gezer calendar. It talks about how much agriculture was being produced in this area. Some think that these megaliths were actually used for telling time, the seasons, and whatnot. In any case, the main purpose of these megaliths here in Gezer were to make a blood covenant. As you might have been following us, you might have heard in our past episodes how we talked about how the city applies to the heart. Like when King Solomon refortified the city, how we were to fortify our hearts, and also how they dug down deep so that they could get to the wells and the springs of life, and how when we guard our hearts, out of it flows the springs of living water. You see, what was the one and only reason why Yeshua came into this world? We read about in Jeremiah 31 how it says, "And I will write my law on their hearts, and I will make a new covenant with them. And they will be my people, and I will be their God." And then we read about in Luke 22, where Yeshua takes the wine, and he says, "This is my blood. This is a new covenant." And he makes a new covenant. You see, in a place where there's blood covenant, it's the strongest covenant that anyone can make. And that's exactly what God did for us. He made the strongest covenant that he could ever make, a blood covenant, so that we could have full and direct relationship with our Lord, and that we could have his Spirit in our hearts. I hope that you've made that commitment today, that you've set aside that time and you said, "Lord, take my heart, take my life, take my heart." You've made this covenant for this relationship. Do with me as you will. I want to read from Hebrews 4, talking about Yeshua as our high priest, going into the holies of holies. in Hebrews 4:14, since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Yeshua, the Son of God. Let us hold fast to our confession, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, and yet is without sin. Let us then, with confidence, draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. My prayer for you today is that you will draw close to the Lord. He's provided that covenant. He's made that way for you to talk to Him. Draw near to Him. Draw near to His throne of grace, that you will receive His mercy and His grace. I want to thank you again for joining us on this continuing journey as we go from Jaffa to Jerusalem. I hope that you enjoyed this last segment as we're here in Gezer, and continue with us as we continue exploring the different cities leading up to the great city of Jerusalem. Join us again next week as we continue on our journey. Have a wonderful week, and God bless.